Firstly, I imported a character model and retargeted it in Unreal. I also added an attack animation from Mixamo, which is based off of a flaming torch being forcefully pointed. The enemy has an attack animation, which, when completed, deals a random amount of damage. You lose the game if you don't get to the village in time, meaning you have to start again. To win the game, you must progress to the second level and collect all 10 pieces of wood. Doing so sends you to the main menu screen. The game is centered around a red telephone box which takes you from level to level. You can use it to get from the main area to the next level. I originally used a line trace for the player's attack, but then realised it was too hard to aim it right. I later switched to a sphere trace, which worked much better. The enemy uses a behaviour tree to call a function which moves itself towards the player. When it gets close enough, it performs an attack which deals damage to the player. The game has a fully working UI that consists of health and stamina bars. The health decreases when the enemy attacks, and the stamina decreases when the player jumps. Both regenerate over time. When the player attacks, particles are shot from the top of the weapon in the direction of the attack. There are also hanging particles around the start area where you're first given your weapon. The game works for both keyboard and controller. There are custom input actions which take an input from either device. The interact action either takes the E key or the left face button of the controller. The shoot action takes the left mouse button or the right trigger. I use these input actions within the blueprints to allow the player to pick up the weapon and attack with the weapon. Here is a demonstration on how the controller works with the game. I used Unreal's chaos destruction to fracture a cylinder and apply physics to the pieces. Later on I added collectible pieces of wood that would spawn and be used as a win condition for the level. The cylinder breaks and an impulse is applied when the player shoots it at a close range. I added a post-process volume which allowed me to change the exposure level manually. If the player hits the enemy enough times, the enemy's body is ragdolled and falls to the floor. I added footsteps as a custom sound effect by placing it at each point where the animation steps on the ground. The game starts at the main menu, which is used to either play or exit the game. Pressing tab brings up a pause menu. While the game is paused, the player cannot move or rotate the character. The pause menu can be used to return to the main menu or resume the game. I use GitHub as a version control for the game, uploading files and maintaining a constant backup of the project. Most of the models that I included in the game were made in Maya and then textured using Substance Painter. Making the models myself helped to increase the game's performance as the assets used were mostly low poly. Here are some 360 turntables of the models. They are all fairly simplistic in that they were made using primitive shapes such as cubes and cylinders. This is what they look like in the game. Putting them all together helped to create the atmosphere of a medieval village. I took pictures of local environments and edited them in Photoshop to create the ground texture. I imported the edited textures and created a landscape material which uses texture variation to randomize the UVs, making it look more realistic. I created my own sound effects using household items and then editing them together in Audacity. Then I used Fmod to put the different sounds together and play randomized variations of them.